Hi everyone, welcome to the Scruffy City Beat. This is a podcast from the WBIR newsroom, bringing you stories straight from the heart of Knoxville's music scene. My name is Jillian Taylor and I'm the host of the podcast. I do videography here at the station, but in my other life, I am a dancer in the live music scene here. And I am so thrilled to be doing music scene coverage as part of my job here because I'm out at shows all the time to dance. And so this has kind of been a journey of learning about the music that I'm dancing to here in Knoxville. And this week is a really cool episode. I'm very excited for you to hear it. The Pilot Light is arguably one of the most important venues in Knoxville in shaping Knoxville's music scene because it's an incubator space for artists to experiment in a smaller scales music-focused environment to then be able to grow to play bigger shows, to start touring. So it's just a very important venue. It's been around for 25 years. They just had their 25th anniversary. And there's some changes going on in the organization. So in this conversation, I'm sitting down with the founder and director for the last 25 years, Jason Boardman, and the two people that are coming in his stead, Kat Brock and George Rutsamuka. And we're going to talk about the origins of the Pilot Light, including the name, and what it does for Knoxville scene, and then what kind of changes we can anticipate or the kind of things that will stay the same in these next 25 years or longer. And by popular demand, this episode is a little bit shorter. It's closer to 25 to 30 minutes, so it's a little more commuter friendly if you're on the go. So sit back and enjoy this conversation about the Pilot Light. Welcome back to another episode of the Scruffy City Beat. Today is all about the Pilot Light. If you know it, you know it. If you don't know it, you're about to learn. I'm here with all of the people who lead the operation. Hi.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. Can you all introduce yourselves real quick?
Yeah. I'm George Rutsamuka, incoming artistic director.
Kat Brock, incoming executive director.
I'm Jason Boardman, founder and outgoing executive director.
The name, Pilot Light. Tell me about that name.
I wish I had a really good story about it. It's one of those that I mean, it was on a short list of choices, but when, the small group of friends that sort of were making music and sort of helped to make the Pilot Light happen in the first place, we didn't really know it was going to last more than a year. There was sort of we're going to try this for a year kind of thing. And in retrospect, I really love the name Pilot Light because it's like this little small flame that keeps the bigger creative scene going.
When I was there with a friend and we were like, what does this mean? And we had to Google what a Pilot Light is because I've never seen one before.
Oh, right.
You
need me to tell you about
for the young
what a
people,
pilot
what's
is?
a Pilot Light? Can you tell me?
Well, on certain burners and stoves, there's that little flame that's always burning, never goes out or else you can't cook. To light the other burners, but I picked it, and it turned out to be, because of the longevity and the importance to the creative, sort of engine, it ended up to have a bigger meaning.
Yeah.
In retrospect,
It's the perfect name.
It really is.
We looked it up and we were like, wow, so cool. So it being that small flame that keeps the flame of music in Knoxville alive, that's the analogy, right? Can you talk about that, being the small flame, being the incubator space in the city?
Well, I mean, there always have been a lot of music scenes in Knoxville, and a lot of, you were speaking of the honky-tonk scene. That's like one scene that, there's other rock and roll scenes and folk and Americana and bluegrass. But there was always an experimental scene and more like sort of odd and, creative I've seen in music and rock and roll that was kind of relegated to basements and spots where, people had to just ask favors. Can I do a little show in the back of your restaurant after hours, that kind of thing. And so I think that a lot of the music scenes in this town were pretty robust and they had venues where things like that would happen on the regular. We were for everything else that didn't have that. Mm-hmm. And because that just happened to be the people I had fallen in with and making music and appreciating the music that they were doing, we had gotten to do a few shows at the old Foundry space on the fair site because of a friend who lived in an apartment in the basement. Mm-hmm. And it was beautiful because it was like we weren't annoying regular customers with our noisy stuff or, we're asking everybody to be quiet because it's a real quiet thing. We had this beautiful space, and so a friend of mine and I, Lee Shoemaker, looked around for a spot that we could, afford to give it a try in the old city. In those days, there was a lot, in downtown in general, a lot more open space. And so we decided that, you know, to try and have a spot that was kind of uncompromised and for this kind of music that didn't have a home.
Yeah, that's awesome. What's the weirdest shows you guys have seen at Pilot Light? Because I hear, when I tell people I'm doing this episode, I hear some crazy stories. I've heard about a sandwich. Somebody played a sandwich, allegedly. What have you guys seen?
I've seen a burrito performed, I think.
Great.
At one point.
A lot of
the
food
content.
things happening here. Yeah. It's a tough. Oh, I thought it was.
I'm just going through the catalog of shows.
Yeah,
It's kind of a tough question to answer because what's weird is
Relative.
it's relative, and we're so used. But like, lots of things that have a theatrical kind of performance element to it, or an odd instrumentation, like people bowing the spokes of bicycle wheels. And there was one fantastic band from Georgia that used to play behind a big rubber sheet, and they would push their faces and hands out through it, and you would be on one side and they'd be on the other, and there'd be projections on it, and electronic noise stuff. And but I mean, like, that we certainly are the home for that sort of thing, but we do stuff across the board. I mean, we've had, you know, string quartets and you know, folk bands and hip hop artists play. It's kind of one of the only places downtown that has that. I don't know if that really answers your question or not.
No, it totally does. Yeah, I think like in my times at shows there, it's sort of like the musical experiences that have like smacked me and made me stop talking. Whether it was, I mean, I went to like the William Wild ambient show a bit ago, and I mean, I don't think I spoke for like 30 minutes. You know, I was just like in my chair, like synced in, or in one of the side chairs, like synced in. And it's just, I think just so many people have had musical experiences like that there. There's a note on the bar top that says no talking during the music. I think I don't know if that was an official statement from y'all or somebody just scrawled that on the bar top.
Where did that come from?
That was just a piece of trash that I found that just said, yeah, please, while artists are performing, please don't talk or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I was cleaning up one day and I was like, you know, let's just go and
Did
tape
you
this to the
put
bar.
that up there?
Yeah, I was like,
Popped up
I like
recently.
it.
it's just a nice reminder, and you know, most people feel that way.
Yeah.
You know, and occasionally, if you're not used to going to shows that are really quiet and delicate, then it can be nice to see a little reminder like that.
Yeah, I think that I was impressed by, it's like everyone in the room goes up to the front and like sunflowers, like turns towards the stage and stops talking. Like even with it, probably without that note, it was already happening. Yeah. But seeing that note kind of like put words to it, that everyone was very focused on the music, and that is so not true at every venue.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful.
Yep,
As musicians, I mean, so all of you play music. Can you talk at all about like the attentive audiences that you get at the Pilot Light?
Oh, sure. There's nothing like it, and I've had several projects over the years that have played there, and some are more quiet than others. And yeah, I don't think I've ever played anywhere like the Pilot Light, where it is an absolute listening room, and I mean, you can just hear people breathe, is what it feels like. And as a performer, it's just such a show of respect for what you're doing, and it makes you just want to keep doing it forever and ever and ever.
Yeah. A lot of artists, I think, play in venues where they feel like they're just the background music for either drinking or eating or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the whole focus of that place is on the music, and so it's, you know, as someone who's performing, it's incredibly special, and it reminds you that that people just care about music, and that's enough. Yeah.
When I lived in Nashville, I had a monthly gig at a bar there, and it was background music. Yeah. And it just makes you realize how special the Pilot Light is. I mean, I just can't say it enough.
Yeah, I mean, that was the sole purpose of the place, is to put on performances. We have a small bar in there, but it's not a place where you would go necessarily to be at a bar. You know, people do go there because they might have friends that might show up also, but it's amazing how quickly it goes from, you know, a record's playing and everybody's talking to somebody takes the stage and everybody just, because really the whole reason for going there is, you know, you buy the ticket, you come in, it's like closer to going to a theater or something like that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's a good analogy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I want to talk some about how the Pilot Light and the music culture there feeds into the greater Knoxville music scene. So we talk about this small flame that ignites a bigger fire. Why do small venues like this matter to a city like Knoxville?
I think that it's especially because we, you know, committed all of the volunteers who have been part of it all these years to keeping it going, is you need a place that you can get a show where no matter what kind of music you're doing, it's not about how many tickets you sell. It's not about, you know, it's about a place that has a stage and, you know, attentive audience, the things you need, so that you can get better and be motivated to keep doing it. And so I think over time, as people have come through this, you know, people might have been making music or doing things creatively more in their or younger days, and then they get into more complex lives and can't do it as much, but we're always there kind of poking at them. And it's like, you should come back and just do a 15-minute set. Like, we love stuff like that. And you know, they're holding a bunch of groceries at the grocery store and they're like, yeah, okay, I'll do it 2 weeks from now or whatever. And then after, you know, they probably think, what did I just agree to? But then they do it, and then they're like back in it.
Yeah.
And they realize how it's not hard. It's not something you have to, you know, worry. You know, it's not like a make or break thing. You can do it. It might go well. It might not that time, but it's not going to hurt your chances of getting another chance to do it again.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for that.
Yeah. Has that in any way been y'all's experience? I know all of you do play Pilot Light. Have you experienced it like rejuvenating you as a musician?
Oh, 100%. First time I performed there was July 2021 when lockdown had finally been lifted and we were having shows again. And I put together a project that was only a one-time performance and involved 9 people.
Wow.
And, you know, it's the first time I was on stage in years, and and a lot that was true for everybody there, and I think it just kind of invigorated a bit of like, oh yeah, this is fun, this is cool, like we can do whatever we want, and yeah, I just trying out things like that has continued to keep me very stimulated and wanting to continue to grow as a musician.
Yeah. And how does the financial model of the business work? How much is, like, so that show you played, how much money are you making off of door sales? And I know this is a non-profit. So just how do the money streams work in musicians playing?
The bands are paid from the door typically. There are times if the turnout is really, really low that we, you know, will pull from our, you know, till, so to speak, and pay the bands. But yeah, it's a split of the door, and we favor anyone who's touring gets a little bit better cut, but it's there. I mean, we don't take anything out of that unless it's just way up enough to where, you know, we could put some in the sad show fund, you know, but yeah, it's all we've actually, I'm pretty proud of how much money we've put into artists' hands over each year, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to read a quote from Hayden Dunbar has done some stories on Pilot Light, some recent ones that are beautiful reads. There's some beautiful stories written about. Ripley's story was really great. Anyway, she quoted Natalie Mering talking about how much it matters to have a small venue, and the quote that I wrote down was, "For the weirdest outsider in music to have a place to present is the point of the Pilot Light. Places on the outskirts of town where you don't need a manager, a website, press photo, or any proof whatsoever that you're a legit band to play there." She was writing about the value of having these small venues and having do a small little show and make money from it and have your art enriched. We're going to take a break. We're going to take an ad break here. And when we come back, I want to kind of talk about this change that's happening and what people can expect to be the same or different going forward.
Great.
Well, okay, so I want to talk about this big change that's happening. I'm going to quote you from the article.
Cool.
Hayden wrote a quote from you. It was this. You said some other things before about how beautiful the pilot was, what we've been talking about, and then you said, "I don't know if people would know what to do without it. So it feels like there's a responsibility here to keep it going." We're talking about this leadership change. So what happened in June? You are no longer running Pilot Light. You are handing it over to Kat and George to run, and I want to talk about that change and the responsibility that you guys have now taken on to keep this going, and what you expect to keep the same, what you intend to change, if anything. Kind of give me a lay of the land there.
Well, my role, we basically divided, or Jason divided his role into two
Okay.
positions. Thank goodness. So my role is going to be more like finding money as a nonprofit,
Yeah.
and working with the board to do that, and just be able to fund event after event after event seamlessly.
Big job.
And, you know, if George, as the artistic director, I want it to be one of those situations where he has an idea and we can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are your dreams as artistic director?
I mean, kind of continue the legacy that Jason has.
Yeah.
Continuously attracting experimental, creative, independent artists into that place, and making sure they have one of the best experiences they can have
Yeah.
at a venue or on their tour or whatever. Yeah, continue the curation and programming. Fun events like we did this past week. And just keeping, healthy artist relationships.
Yeah.
Making sure people want to continue to come back here.
Yeah. So your job is now split into two jobs. Are you guys employed, officially employed? Are you on salary?
No.
No. Is it still volunteer? Okay, wow. And you did this, I read that you did this with a full-time job, all 25 years?
Well, yeah, it was a volunteer position, so yeah, I had to be working a full-time
Wow.
job while I was doing it. And again, when I was 26, when we started this thing, it was not. I had no idea they would have these kind of legs, and
Yeah.
it was just something that we had, a show or two a week, and it was easier to manage. But then more and more people said, "Hey, I'd like to help out," and that's the other thing. Is like the way the community comes around to. I mean, that Sunday event is a perfect example. That was
Yep.
the result of. We don't have a lot of money to spend on renting a whole lot of stuff, so we go to our friends and say, "Can you help us build this for one day? Can you help us do that and this?" And everybody just is like rolling up their sleeves, and
That's awesome.
yeah, so it's always been like that. Everybody wants to make sure that it survives, and so it's as we've done more and more, and we just keep putting the money into the survival of the place. But part of what we're looking to do, especially as Kat starts, broadening our support base, is to get more paid positions at the Pilot Light and stuff like that. But we will always be prioritizing paying the bands and bringing in people from, doing as many shows as possible.
I'm excited to see where it could go from where it's already been on a one-person volunteer basis to now two.
Yeah.
That's double. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows what's going to happen in the next 25? Any predictions?
I can't wait to see.
Do you want to make any predictions?
We'll see.
Knoxville blows up and suddenly becomes a city that everyone perceives as the music hub. Cool music hub.
I think
People
the
spend a lot of
music,
money on music.
the music here is good enough to where it could be. I mean,
Yeah.
I always thought that, when Seattle blew up, it could have easily happened in Knoxville,
Yeah.
like for years and for decades.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm honestly surprised that it hasn't. Moving here, I'm from Dallas, and I've been amazed moving here by the music scene. I thought it was a small, good, cool, quirky city, but kind of small and a little sleepy. Not at all. That is not at all true. Nothing sleepy about Knoxville.
And they're super talented people here.
Yeah.
Super creative, talented people.
Yeah. I saw that you guys are having your first membership drive ever. Can you tell me about doing that now? Why there hasn't been membership drives before? Like, what does that mean, a membership drive?
Well, we've been looking for ways to broaden our support base, and as we became a nonprofit in 2017, and we lost a couple of years to COVID, obviously. But like the idea was to especially as I knew that in the years to come I'd be exiting at some point, and like I was carrying a lot of the financial responsibility of sort of backstopping it also from and I couldn't do that anymore. So we were just talking about with the board of directors ways to set up a funding base with the community of support we already have until we can start getting some success writing grants and things like that. So this is like just in the same way that you would support public radio or other an art museum or something like that by being a recurring donor. That's what the membership program was about, and we're going to come up with special ways to fun things that if you're a member you would get to interact with or come see a thing that we put on for that.
Yeah. And on that vein, do you have any big projects in mind for the next year or two that people can be looking out for?
We have some ideas.
Okay.
Yeah.
I bet you do.
One of the things I always want to point out, and especially when we're talking coming off of a big event like that block party, the real value of the pilot light and the real heartwarming charm as you've experienced is just the show on any given night, a 3-band show where you go down there. It's not necessarily even a crowd, it's small. That is what we're celebrating. Anytime we do a big event, we're celebrating the continuing effort to keep doing that. That is what makes people want to continue to support it. It's the special events are fun, but that is what's special about the pilot light.
Yeah. That's beautiful. If somebody's watching who has not been out, they don't go out to local music, but of course they listen to it, they love music. Why should they go to the pilot light? Why should they check out our scene here? What value does it bring to people's lives, these in-person local music experiences?
Well, it's kind of like we were talking, where it becomes a listening room, and it's not. You're not walking into chaos and I can't. I don't know. I can't even describe it. Put it better.
Well, to me, the first thing I thought about was like, I moved here in 2019. I made my closest relationships inside of that building.
Yeah.
So there's a real sense of community, one that is geared towards the arts and being open and experiencing things. I think experience is a really big thing. You can listen to all the music you want, but the shows that happen on that stage are something like you've never experienced, So that's what keeps me wanting to continuously be down there, just to see it and witness it, because anything can happen. And there's something very, very exciting to me about that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's inclusive.
Yeah.
Everybody's welcome.
Yeah.
And that's just a beautiful thing in itself.
Yeah.
And you will be surprised by how much you enjoy it.
Yes.
I mean,
Absolutely.
it's like, that happens all the time. People wander in by, just not even knowing what it is.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you're not used to going to a lot of live music in general, of course, that experience is very valuable. But in this situation, it's generally a very small crowd. There's no backstage green room. You're in there with the band. There's maybe talking to people at their merch table or sitting at the bar, but then they just walk up there and suddenly the shift of attention changes and they're doing something that, sometimes you can't believe you're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Well, I appreciate you guys coming in here. I feel very privileged to be sitting in the room with all three of you, given how much you've influenced the scene that is my source of community, that is my source of joy, and what lifts me up working such a heavy job. It's very important to me, and so I'm grateful for what you guys do, and thrilled to see what's going to happen with this new phase.
No, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you for listening. That was a conversation with the Pilot Light. Those three people are incredibly important in shaping Knoxville's music, our amazing music scene. If you haven't been, get out to a show, because you will understand the awe of music that happens in that space. It's just loaded with years and years of incredible music and amazing formative musical memories for people. If you've watched this podcast before, then in the outro, usually Jared Hagman is here to talk about things to do in Knoxville. This week we're doing something a little bit different. This week, Jared, who runs a publication called Knox Ooze, where he promotes music shows around town, this week he's going to come to us from out in the field. So, Jared, give us a look at the big shows happening this weekend.
If these walls could talk. Oh, hey, Jillian. Things are looking great out here at the Millen Mine, where on Saturday, the punk rock flea market is going to take over. There's going to be 9 bands for 9 hours from noon to 9 p.m. for only $5. There'll be bands, flea market stuff, food, other things. But it's only $5. You think about the math breakdown, it's great. Local bands like Tweegee, Jay Bush, Shogun, and a whole bunch more are going to be there, including one name I probably can't say on the air. And then if you want to keep the night going, go from here to Sassy Ann's, where they're doing a all-night lock-in from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. That's $30. So then, wake up at 9 a.m., sleep for an hour, then go to Olaf Fest at World's Fair Park. Do that from 11 to 6, and then you go from there to Trailhead, where they're doing the WDVX and Trailhead 10th anniversary event with music, and that one's free. So there's about, 16 hours worth of music and no sleep. That's my plan this weekend. Back to you, Jillian.
Thank you, Jared. Okay, so there's a lot happening this weekend. Punk Rock Flea Market is a big one. I'm going to go to a 1960s themed jukebox night at an artist collective called Spacecraft. And then on Sunday, there is a Nashville honky-tonk musician who is coming to town to play a show at Barley's. So I'm going to do some 1960s swing and then some punk rock. I might go to that overnight lock-in at Sassy Ann's because weird. I also live really close to there, so that'd be really fun to just walk over in my PJs. And then Sunday I'll go honky-tonking. Knoxville's just a wild place where all these styles from all across genres, we have the Asheville people, the Atlanta, the Nashville, coming through Knoxville, and we have a big university that studies music, classical music. So there's just so much in Knoxville to see. Get out and see a show. I promise you it is worthwhile. They make such important memories, impactful memories. It'll stop you in your tracks and give you a moment to reflect on life or celebrate or meet people. I'm wildly passionate about it because it's a very important thing to the culture of this city. So, get out and see a show, and thank you for watching. I'll be back next week with another episode, this time about Jay Bush, a local musician, the Good Guy Collective, and a new event they're throwing in Fourth and Gill called Fourth and Chill. Until then, I am just a girl with a microphone begging you to get out and see a live music show.